Hi guys, welcome to this new video for CSS Grid tutorial 2. In the last video that I did, I showed you how to create a website layout using 4 key grid properties. These were the ones above here: grid column starts, grid column ends, grid row starts, and grid row ends. So I don't know if you realized, but then we had a lot of CSS declarations in the CSS box. We're using GS Fiddle for that video. Today we're gonna make our code cleaner, and for that we're gonna use the shorthand properties. So these are just grid row column and grid row, that's all. In case you don't know how to use the 4 properties above here, I recommend you check the previous video and come back to this one. Alright, so when I say grid column and grid row are shorthand properties, what I mean is that through each of these properties, let's say grid column, we can control the values of these two properties. So we just need one line, one declaration to control these two. The same thing goes for grid row. One line, one CSS declaration can control the values of these two properties. So eventually it's faster and cleaner. MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network, has more on these properties if you're interested to know. They have syntax, information, examples, and all. The same thing goes for grid column. But today, what I'm going to show you uses this syntax. It looks more like this. All right, you have a number, a slash symbol, and another number. The same thing for grid row. It's going to look more like this one here. You have number slash number. So it's the same thing here. So I'm gonna remove this because we're gonna start creating our new layouts right here, and I'm gonna enable this. We have an HTML structure, and for now this is what we have: the header, navigation, article content. These are basically some elements that we'll need in our website layouts. It's a very basic one, nothing too complex. So here we have the HTML structure, and here we have a grid container. We know it's a grid because we specify that the display should be grid. Then we have the grid template columns. We have 3 columns of 100 pixels each, and we've defined the rows for our templates. So the first row is 60 pixels here. The second one, this one here, is 30 pixels, and this third one, you can see it's way bigger because it's 150 pixels in height. So we've also defined 4 more rows for our grid layouts, and you can't see them here because right now we have 3 columns and 9 elements. So logically we're gonna have 3 rows. 3 by 3 is 9. We have 9 elements, and you can see that easily here. We have item 1, this class, yeah, all the way to item 9 here, which is the footer. So in this case, as we build our layouts and we push some elements to new rows, these new rows are going to take the height that we've defined here. So we're going to have a 4th row eventually, which is going to be 60 pixels, a 5th row 40 pixels, a 6th row 40 pixels again, and one last row 70 pixels. That's going to be the footer. Alright, so I think we talked about this already in the previous video, but I'm just refreshing your mind just in case. This item class that we have here, we have it attached to all the grid elements here in our HTML structure, and that's because we want to give them a nice orange background and some borders around them. Alright, so 1 pixel black border and some padding of 5 pixels around them. Cool. So now let's start by using the properties I showed you about. Sorry, the properties I showed you. And first of all, we want our header to span across these 3 cells. So we're going to push navigation and article content to a row below. So in case you forgot, in CSS Grid, the green lines matter a lot, especially when we want to specify the position or the order of our elements. So this grid has 3 cells horizontally and 3 cells vertically, but then it has 4 grid lines horizontally and 4 grid lines vertically. So why is it 4? That's because they border on the very on the left side, like before the H of header, is 1 grid line. This second border here is a second grid line. This third line is a third grid line, and finally the last one is the fourth one. So the same can apply vertically. You can call them grid column lines or grid row lines. Alright guys, so let's get started now, and I'm going to start by making the header stretch from the first grid line to the fourth grid line. So this is what I'm going to do simply. I'm going to target the first element here, which is the header. I'm talking about the child elements under the container. So item 1 is the class through which we can target our header. So I'm simply going to write item 1 and then grid column. It should start by the first grid line and ends at the fourth one. So it's the same thing as writing start here and end here, right? But this doesn't work. I mean, you're just going to mess up your code. It's not a valid syntax by default. So grid column 1 to 4, we can see it does the job pretty well. So we can apply the same thing to item 2, which is the navigation, because the navigation is also going to stretch from the first grid line to the last one. So I'm going to add here item 2 and there. The footer as well. And the footer here is item 9. So I'm going to add item 9. You can see I don't have to duplicate this declaration over and over again. We can just add the different classes here, right? So now the article content, we wanted to stretch from the first one to the third one here, all right, just before the sidebar. So we can simply target item 3, and here I'm going to type item 3 grid column 1 3. Exactly. The same thing should apply to the comment section. So the comment section is item 4 here. I'm gonna add item 4. Great. And now we're gonna make use of the grid row shorthand property. And the sidebar, for instance, needs to jump here and stretch all the way down to the end of the related posts. Yeah, I think that's going to look quite good. So the sidebar can start at the third grid line, because this is the first one, second one above navigation, third one is at the end of the navigation. So the sidebar is item 5 here. Item 5, let me highlight it. Right, so here I'm gonna say item 5 grid row 3, and it should end at the full 5, right? Let's make it 6 at the 6th row. So it looks quite messed up right now, and the reason why it's looking like this is because the grid is pushing elements to new rows. So in order to put the sidebar to its rightful place, which is on the right side, we need to specify on which grid column it should start and when it should end. So that's simple. We just need to say grid column start on the third grid line and end at the fourth one. And now that's fixed. We just need to stretch the sponsored contents, And on second thoughts, I'm thinking the sidebar can actually stretch all the way down, uh, like to touch the footer section. So let's make it 7 here, right? So now the sponsored content can simply stretch just like the article and comment sections. So article and comment sections were item 3 and 4. We simply need to target now the item 8 here. So I'm gonna add that to this line here and say item 8, and that's fixed now. We don't even need to add any styling to our footer as far as grid items positioning, sorry, is concerned, because it's already at in its correct position. I'm gonna have this exact link, the link to this pen, in the description of the video, so you can just grab it, do your thing, scale it up, change the height, the width, the positions, and if you know about other CSS grid properties, feel free to just throw them in and do your own thing. If you happen to use CodePen as well or JS Fiddle, share your work with me. I'll be more than happy to view it. All right. And if you have any questions, as always, just leave them in the comment section, and I'll be super happy if you could just subscribe to this channel and like and share this video as well. Alright, so thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye.